James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room, Part 1, Chapter 1. I stand at the window of this great house in the south of France as night falls, the night which is leading me to the most terrible morning of my life. I have a drink in my hand, there is a bottle at my elbow. I watch my reflection in the darkening gleam of the window pane. My reflection is tall, perhaps rather like an arrow. My blonde hair gleams. My face is like a face you have seen many times. My ancestors conquered a continent, pushing across death-laden plains until they came out to an ocean which faced away from Europe into a darker past. I may be drunk by morning, but that will not do any good. I shall take the train to Paris anyway. The train will be the same. The people struggling for comfort, and even dignity on the straight-backed wooden third-class seats will be the same. And I will be the same. We will ride through the same color-changing countryside northward, leaving behind the olive trees and the sea and all the glory of the stormy southern sky, into the mist and the rain of Paris. Someone will offer to share a sandwich with me. Someone will offer a sip of wine. Someone will ask for a match. People will be roaming in the corridors outside, looking out of windows, looking in at us. At each stop, recruits in their own baggy brown uniforms and colored hats will open the compartment door to ask, "Complet?" We will all nod, yes, like conspirators, smiling faintly at each other as they continue through the train. 2 or 3 of them will end up before our compartment door, shouting at each other in heavy, ribald voices, smoking their dreadful army cigarettes. There will be a girl sitting opposite me who will wonder why I have not been flirting with her, who will be set on edge by the presence of the recruits. It will all be the same, only I will be more still. And the countryside is still tonight, this countryside reflected through my image on the pane. This house is just outside a small summer resort, which is still empty. The summer season has not yet begun. It is on a small hill, and one can look down on the lights of the town and hear the thud of the sea. My girl, Hella, and I rented it in Paris from photographs some months ago. Now she has been gone a week. She's on the high seas now, on her way back to America. I can see her, very elegant, tense, and glittering, surrounded by the light, which fills the salon of the ocean liner, drinking rather too fast and laughing and watching the men. That was how I met her, in a bar in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. She was drinking and watching, and that's why I liked her. I thought she would be fun to have fun with. That was how it began, and that was all it meant to me. I'm not sure now, in spite of everything, that it ever really meant more than that to me, and I don't think it ever really meant more than that to her, at least not until she made that trip to Spain, and, finding herself there, alone, began to wonder perhaps if a lifetime of drinking and watching men was exactly what she wanted. But it was too late by that time. I was already with Giovanni, and I had asked her to marry me before she went away to Spain. She laughed and I laughed, but that, somehow all the same, made it more serious for me, and I persisted. And then she said she would have to go away and think about it. And the very last night she was here, I told her that I loved her once, and I made myself believe it. But I wonder if I had. I was thinking, no doubt, of our nights in bed, of the peculiar innocence and confidence which will never come again, which had made those nights so delightful, so unrelated to the past, present, or anything to come, so unrelated, finally, to my life, since it was not necessary for me to take any but the most mechanical responsibility for them. And these nights were being acted out under a foreign sky, with no one to watch, no penalties attached. It was this last fact which was our undoing, for nothing is more unbearable, once one has it, than freedom. I suppose this was why I asked her to marry me, to give myself something to be moored for. Perhaps this was why, in Spain, she decided that she wanted to marry me. But people can't, unhappily, invent their mooring posts, their lovers and their friends, any more than they can invent their parents. Life gives these things and it also takes them away. The great difficulty is to say yes to life. I was thinking when I told Hella that I loved her of those days before anything awful, irrevocable had happened to me, when an affair was nothing more than an affair. Now, from this night, this coming morning, no matter how many beds I find myself in between now and my final bed, I shall never be able to have any more of those boyish, zestful affairs, which are, really, when one thinks about it, a kind of higher, or anyway more pretentious masturbation. People are too various to be treated so lightly. I am too various to be trusted. If this were not so, I would not be alone in this house tonight. Hella would not be on the high seas, and Giovanni would not be about to perish, sometime between this night and this morning, on the guillotine. I repent now for all the good it does. One particular lie among the many lies that I've told, lived, and believed. This is the lie which I told Giovanni, but never succeeded in making him believe, that I had slept with a boy before. I had decided that I never would again. There is something fantastic in the spectacle I now present to myself of having run so far, so hard, across the ocean even, only to find myself brought up short, once more, before the bulldog in my own backyard. The yard, in the meantime, having grown smaller and the bulldog bigger. I have not thought about that boy, Joey, for many years, but I see him quite clearly tonight. It was several years ago. I was still in my teens. He was about my age, give or take a year, and he was a very nice boy, too. Very quick and dark and always laughing. For a while, he was my best friend. Later, the idea that such a person could have been my best friend was proof of some horrifying taint to me. Bye, Mom! So I forgot him, but I see him very well tonight.